I'm rating the episode an 8. I thought it was great. It was starting to pick up some steam on the series. I think it's setting up for some interesting events to unfold in the last 3 episodes. I thought it was pretty cool to see Vision break away and begin to do his own sort of investigation. The children gaining powers. Tony, will go to you. What's your rating?
6. Still kind of in the dark with a lot of things. Like you were saying, I think there's a lot of, it's setting up for a lot. Trey?
Yeah, I got it as a 5. Mediocre. I was really disappointed. I was actually really fired up coming into this episode after the last 2 episodes where they kind of started to reveal a little bit more. You got to see some of the behind the scenes with S.W.O.R.D and with Monica Rambeau, and also with Agent Wu. I really like him. I'm a big fan.
All right, guys, let's get into the WandaVision episode review. So episode 6, called The All-New Halloween Spooktacular, was released on Friday. Lots going on in the episode. Whether you like it or not, Trey, I know that you've got a lot of questions about that.
Was there a lot going on in the episode? I mean,
they modeled the early 2000s. Looks like they did a little bit of Malcolm in the Middle going on there. So it was. I thought it was a pretty good and interesting episode. I'll give my rating, and then we can kind of go around and each give our ratings. And then Trey, I'm gonna let you go first because I know you have all the opinions on it.
Let's let Tony go first. I'll go last.
Okay, that sounds good. So I'm rating the episode an 8. I thought it was great. I thought it was a really, really, really good episode that is started to pick up some steam on the series where I thought maybe it began to spin out a little bit last episode. And I think it's setting up for some interesting events to unfold in the last 3 episodes. So I'll talk about why in a minute, but Tony, will go to you. What's your rating?
6. I think that was my rating of the last episode too. 6 being I would watch it again, but still kind of in the dark with a lot of things. Like you were saying, I think there's a lot of, it's setting up for a lot, but at the same time, I don't know. It was okay. Acting was okay. The effects were okay. I would watch it again, but I'm not pleased. Trey?
Yeah, I got it as a 5. Mediocre. I was really disappointed. I was actually really fired up coming into this episode after the last 2 episodes where they kind of started to reveal a little bit more. You got to see some of the behind the scenes with S.W.O.R.D and with Monica Rambeau and Kat Dennings' character Lewis. Kat Dennings' character Darcey Lewis. And I thought there was just kind of a good mix there, and also with Agent Wu. I really like him. I'm a big fan. So I was excited, and we can get into the details. But yeah, I was disappointed, and we kind of said this last time. Okay, we're getting down to the last. What is there? There was 4 episodes more at that point, so there's 3 episodes after this, and then they had the Quicksilver reveal. So it's like, okay, things are going to start happening. They're going to start to kind of connect the dots and put the puzzle pieces together. And halfway through it, I'm like, this is what they have 30 minutes, not an hour, 30 minutes. And this is what they came up with. So we can talk about the details. But yeah, I was disappointed. I think I would say, I think I was more angry at the beginning of the season just because of kind of the direction they went. And then I got excited about it. And then, after the episode, I'm like, man, that's disappointing. I thought they were going to kick it up a notch being the second half of the season.
So I really liked, obviously I'm in the minority on this one. You guys not liking it as much as I did, but what I liked about the episode was a bunch of stuff. So one, I thought it was pretty cool to see Vision break away and begin to do his own sort of investigation. And what was interesting is that the changing of the town, the fact that they've expanded now and they're covering more ground on the town, and Vision going to the edge of town and seeing people that are literally just stuck. And so I think that adds more gravity to just the pain that the townsfolk are going through. I thought that was actually pretty interesting. The children gaining powers, which aligns with some of the comic book stories. They're potentially in the future could be part of the Young Avengers. The Pietro thing.
So let me
We
can I make a quick comment on the
Yeah.
on the Vision piece? So I thought they just rehashed what they did the last episode with the guy from his work, and when he finds his neighbor sitting in the car, it's like, okay, let's copy and paste what we did with him with her. And so I thought that was a missed opportunity where it could have been a little bit more of a unique interaction because it's actually his neighbor and they just did the same thing. So I just wanted to
Well,
make a point about that.
So that scene, like real quick, what I thought was interesting about that is what's her name? The nosy neighbor? It's her real
Agnes.
name? Agnes. So Agnes and his actual neighbor, they're through the series, they've been the only two characters that I noticed break character more than anyone. Like she seems to be in the know most of the time. And it was interesting to see him get in her, like almost free her, but at the same time we were like, wait, why did she have, like, we thought she was already, you know, in on it or aware of her surroundings and what's actually going on, when she's always like, you know, do you want me to take that from the top, or no, you want me to hold the kids? And then the way she was even telling him, like, you're dead. And then I don't know, it's just kind of weird. It kind of broke what I already thought was going on, which may be all a part of the plan, which might be okay. But at the same time, it was kind of like, wait a minute, why is this working on her? I thought she was already freed.
So I thought that too. I thought it was interesting that it took her character, because there's a lot of theories that maybe she's actually Agatha, a witch from the comics that actually can mentor. There was mentoring Wanda, but I thought that interaction was important because that's when Vision found out that he was dead, and he didn't know what's an Avenger, and it sort of continues to create this, or setting the rules and the explanation around things. I don't disagree, and we talked about this. We kind of texted about this last night, Trey. I don't disagree with Tony that they're taking too long to get to a lot of the plot points. I think that they could have condensed the season if they moved it along a little bit faster. I actually think all of these things could have worked so much better, and I think you guys would have enjoyed it more if it had been a little bit faster pace. They do revisit. You're not wrong at all, Trey. They revisit the same sort of thing, kind of if we go back to, a microcosm of episode 1 and 2. Right? Episode 2 is pretty much the same as episode 1. They almost kind of have that going on where they almost tell the same story twice with just a little difference before they move to the next component of the story. And it is a weird approach that they took on that, but I still like the direction. I thought Vision trying to leave the Hex and seeing that he truly can only survive in the Hex was pretty compelling visually, but also for the story. And then I just thought the way that it ended with her, basically expanding the Hex, it further ties in potentially to the House of M storyline from the comics. And I was, Trey, we talked about this, thinking that maybe she wasn't the one truly in control. Maybe she is, or maybe Mephisto still is the one, because she mentioned to Pietro, I don't remember how this started. I just remember suddenly I'm here and in control. So somebody had to have influenced her, I think, or got this started. But then the question is it really Mephisto, or is it something else that's going on? I also think a few interesting breadcrumbs. Monica Rambeau is going off to meet somebody that could potentially be Reed Richards. So they think this could be the introduction of the Fantastic Four, which to me would be insane that through a TV show, they're introducing that. That would be pretty cool. And then there's also some talk about the fact that the people going through the Hex, if you saw that Darcy talked about that her cellular makeup was changing, then maybe that's how they're going to introduce the X-Men potentially, that people that are in there, that have some mutation or something like that, she actually creates the situation where they come. So I think there's a lot of interesting things to it. The couple of things I didn't like.
So
Trey,
I want to add on to that because I think it's just you made a good point. And that part where Kat Dennings' character Darcy, like, she hacks into everything, and then she's hacking into the mainframe, into the system, and then she's just like, "Hey, look!" Like on her laptop, like your what is it? Your molecular
cellular makeup
is changing.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was like it takes you out of the show, and you go, what? Okay, like that's really cheesy. That's like CSI-ish. And then I'll talk about it a little bit more. I want you to keep on going through your part, but the non-sitcom parts, I didn't think they did a great job with the sitcom parts, but the non-sitcom parts were like really cheesy. Like they're running away from when she's expanding the bubble. I felt like I was watching like 2012, like a disaster movie. Like there's this big wave and everybody's running away. And I just think the way it was just done poorly. I don't have an issue with that being the story and that happening. It just, again, it took me away, and I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
this is really, so I wanted to add that part on, but please continue through your.
So I think you're right. I gotta, like, there are things I didn't like about it. Now, I did like when the Hex turned S.W.O.R.D into a carnival. I thought that was actually pretty funny.
That was good. Yep.
But I agree with you. So I hated what they're doing with the Darcey thing. So she's a scientist. So suddenly, within 5 minutes, she can hack into the mainframe of a encrypted government computer. That's stupid. And then to your point, then within 30 seconds, she's found video showing the cellular makeup of Monica Rambeau. Like, it makes no sense. It's just, that's classic TV stuff that's really, really stupid. And I also don't like the director. He's like a caricature now.
Yeah.
Like, he's so over the top. It's just dumb. Why do that? Like, create a more layered and a better character than that. I didn't have as much of a problem.
It's lazy writing just to say, well, we're going to bring this guy in, you know, we're going to make him to where he seems like he's a proponent of Monica Rambeau and he knows her mom, but then we're going to create this very generic rift where he doesn't like people with superpowers, and then she likes people with superpowers because of her history with Captain Marvel, and then that's going to cause a rift, and then we're going to kick them out, and then when they're kicked out, the three of them, they're going to beat up and disarm S.W.O.R.D soldiers and then be able to escape. So
it's lazy writing, isn't it? I mean, it's lazy writing. We've seen this how many times with technically Age of Ultron. That's why Scarlet Witch and, you know, they're going against what the Stark Industries did, right? And then was it Iron Man 2 with Mickey Rourke? It was kind of the same thing, right? He was going against Tony Stark because something that happened. Or, I mean, we've seen this in a million, kind of to what you were saying, Trey, a million different storylines as to, we don't like mutants, we don't like Avengers, we don't like people, the demigods, we don't like people with powers. So I'm going to create this organization, disguise it, just much like Hydra, you know, and secretly infiltrate the U.S. government with my secret organization, and appear to be like we're working for them, but we're actually working against them. It's just,
it's like the army guys. We're going to make the army guys dumb humans.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but just find a new way to do it. Like,
yeah, just originality. I mean, that's all we want. Is that even a word? That's all I want with anything. Like, come up with your own storyline. Like, it's cool. I don't know. You can be a little bit more original. It's okay. Like, if you're going to make this shitty sitcom try to work anyways, you might as well, you know, come up with something new, not the same old shit over and over and over again.
I think there's some interesting mysteries, though, that to me, I'm really interested to see how they close. I think the Pietro thing is fascinating. I still think he's potentially Pietro from the X-Men storyline. So he does have real memories of them as children, but not her, a different version of Wanda. I think that,
cool.
that does Vision still actually have a Mind Stone in his head? And I mentioned to you, Trey, the IGN theory that maybe the Mind Stone is a real Mind Stone, but came from one of the multiverses. But Vision seems to have powers. What are those powers given to him by Wanda to replicate what he had in the real world, or his powers in the Hex, because it's the real Mind Stone that powers him the way that he was. So I think it's interesting. I thought it was weird too that they overlaid the way that Quicksilver died in Age of Ultron on top of that Quicksilver, which is clearly not the Quicksilver that was in Age of Ultron. So there's a lot, and you know, they talk about they've lost their accents, and Pietro calls her out on it, and then just starts having a conversation like, "How are you doing this?" Like, he's the only person that seems to be woke and aware in the Hex of what's going on, and then not afraid to like talk about it. So those are just some of my like thoughts and comments about it. But I agree it's flawed, Trey, but I thought it was a really great episode in spite of those flaws. But they do need to finish strong. Otherwise, I will end up being down on the season if they don't finish really strong. And I do think they could have tightened the storytelling up.
The interaction between go ahead, Tony. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask Chris, because we talked about this last night too. Do you think they could finish too strong? Like, just throw too much at us and then
I do
not be able to explain it.
So not only do I do think that could be the case, but there's a trend in Marvel movies that I think is going to eventually turn some people off. Not as much, but it happened earlier actually in the season that you mentioned, Trey. they're not spending time explaining who anybody is because there's so much lore now and backstory for everybody, right? So they're like you most people, you had to have seen the X-Men's version of Quicksilver to know who that potentially is. The Return of the Blip, Trey, right, where people are coming back. They never, maybe people wouldn't, if you didn't watch Endgame or know that was part of, or Infinity War, you wouldn't really know what's going on. I think there's going to be so much layered into it that they're just going to assume that the audience has seen all these other movies and can piece all these things together. I don't think they're going to take the time to explain everything. So I actually think there's a chance they could throw so much at the end, to your point, Tony, that it just was like, what is going on here? I hope they don't, but I think it's very possible that they do.
So I thought the interaction between Quicksilver and Wanda was like, I know what they were trying to do, and I thought it was interesting because, like you said, he's aware of what's going on, and he's kind of questioning her about her accent and things like that. I just didn't think it wasn't very well done. Was my issue with that. Like my takeaway from that was, okay, yeah, I actually like what they try to do there, but it wasn't well done. There's also theories out there that Quicksilver is also whether it's Nightmare as somebody who came up, or Mephisto in disguise, and they're actually Quicksilver. So I think that's an interesting thing to do as well. But I just go back to, I know what they're trying to do, and they're trying to be cryptic about everything and keep everything hidden. But I think it's to the point that it's really taken away from the story and the enjoyment of watching it, because it's like, okay, at this point, episode 6, right? We should know a little bit more, I would hope. And they're inching along. I do like the Vision part. I really like that when he tries to, excuse me, he tries to escape, and you see that outside of the bubble, he would just die, right? So we see that things that come into the bubble, their forms change, and their molecular structure, or whatever it is, changes, and they actually become different things, right? Under the control of Wanda or whoever is controlling it. So, I don't know. That's the rest of mine.
I guess my highlight of this show was when Vision escaped the hex, and his main concern was the people inside. Like that was cool. Like, okay, because that's cool. Kind of classic Vision that we've seen in this version of the Avengers, right? He's always for good. Isn't that what he said? I think in the first one, he's on the side of the right or something like that. Like, he doesn't really play political sides or anything. He sees that people are suffering and he wants to help them. And that's now kind of what seems to be his goal, is to maybe not necessarily end Wanda, but possibly stop her from doing what she's doing to let these people go. And he's even said that last episode, like, these people are suffering, just stop, kind of things like that. But that was really all I took out of it. I personally am going to be very upset if they try to make the X what creates the mutants, just because I think that's an easy way out. Personally, it kind of rewrites our version of what X-Men should be, to make it more modern day, as opposed to, mutants being around for a while. I don't know. That may chase a lot of people off, because a lot of people are excited to see what Disney can do with Wolverine and Magneto and things like that. And if you make it more modern day, like, Wolverine hasn't been alive for a couple hundred years, and Magneto wasn't the one the Eric that we're used to, that was locked up in during World War II or whatever, and things like that. Like, I don't know, man. They're skating on thin ice, in my opinion, if they decide to make this what creates the mutants. But with the circus thing, if they do, maybe Gambit's in there, since circus acts juggle and do shit like that, flipping cards around and all that. But again, I think that would be a cheap way of getting out of all that.
Maybe Channing Tatum's in there somewhere.
Maybe. No, the guy that was in the Wolverine movie.
God.
So we'll see, man. You said we got 3 episodes, right? 3 episodes to bring this all in. Is this really Quicksilver? Is this Fox's version of Quicksilver? Is this Mephisto? Is this something related to Doctor Strange, which obviously I think all of us think at some point in time he's going to get involved, and he kind of has to. So
one thing,
I think he's going to show up.
One thing I want to say about series, TV series, is what what I certainly prefer is I'm okay with, I know they have to set up things for the next season. And in this case, they're setting up things for the larger Marvel universe, which I think is really cool. I think there's a lot of good opportunities with that. But there needs to be some sort of a closure to the arc that they set up in said season, right? And I don't care what show it is. Like when the season finale hits, I want to feel like, okay, that story, while there may be, and I think Mandalorian's a good example that did that. That story's done. That's closed. Let's move on to the things that they set up. So I do think in times where they're so worried about setting up the next season and the next parts of whatever they're doing that they leave so much open, then it's like, okay, well, that's not like a season. Like give me a little bit of closure to the arc of what we just had. So again, Mandalorian did a good job of that. We'll see how they do, but that's one of the things that I always look for.
All right. Well, we'll see where the next 3 episodes go. So that's going to wrap our discussion and review on WandaVision. Next up is going to be things we hate.